The footage had already been reviewed twice. That alone told Maya something was wrong. She sat at the narrow desk near the window of her apartment, posture relaxed in a way that came from habit rather than comfort. Outside, the city moved quietly, headlights threading through intersections, illuminated windows blinking on and off like distant signals. Inside, there was no music, no television, no ambient noise competing for attention. Just the laptop. The security feed filled the screen. A wide-angle camera fixed to the ceiling of a corporate facility overseas. Glass walls, steel railings. Clean floors polished to reflect light instead of character. The kind of building designed to communicate transparency while protecting everything that mattered. She slowed the playback. The man entered the frame at exactly 8:41 p.m. He was in his mid-40s. Average height. Neutral clothing. Nothing about him demanded attention, which was precisely why he earned it. He didn't look like a visitor. He didn't look like staff. He moved through the corridor with the quiet confidence of someone who understood the environment without needing to test it. Maya didn't focus on his facial features. She understood that faces could lie and never told the whole story. She watched his hands instead, relaxed, visible. Not searching for cover, not preparing for resistance. She watched his shoulders, loose, unburdened, unafraid. She watched his stride, balanced, efficient, not rushed. She knew that the body never lied. He moved like someone who expected the system to cooperate. That expectation mattered. People who belonged ignored surveillance entirely. People who didn't belong avoided it instinctively. This man did neither. He existed between those instincts, moving as though the cameras were irrelevant because the building itself had already accepted him. Maya slowed the footage further, advancing frame by frame. She noted that when he reached the stairwell, he paused. Not long, but just long enough to decide something. That pause tightened something in her chest. Not alarm, not fear, but recognition. People hesitated for many reasons: confusion, fatigue, moral conflict. This hesitation carried none of those signals. It was measured, intentional. She rewound the footage 10 seconds. Then again. The timestamp flickered subtly as the system recalibrated. There was a quiet gap. It wasn't missing footage. It was a missing moment. As she considered this piece of information, her phone vibrated silently on the desk, screen lighting with a secure call request. It didn't ring. It waited. And Maya didn't answer it immediately. She wanted to understand the silence before she engaged with the caller. When the phone finally rang, Maya didn't reach for it on the first ring. She waited for the third ring, then she engaged the call. Her eyes stayed on the frozen image. The man caught mid-turn, suspended between movement and stillness. "Go ahead," she said at last. The voice on the other end didn't introduce itself. It didn't need to. It carried the restrained authority of someone used to being heard, and the careful cadence of someone who understood consequences. "We were informed. You accessed the materials," he said in a controlled monotone cadence. "I accessed everything I was sent," Maya replied calmly. "The question is why this didn't stay internal." A pause followed. Papers were shifted. The faint sound of someone standing, perhaps turning away from a desk. "This is a compliance review," the voice said. Maya exhaled softly through her nose. "Compliance reviews document uncertainty," she said. "They don't eliminate it." Silence stretched, measured, deliberate. Perspective. The word hovered even when it wasn't spoken. "There are limitations," the voice continued. "Internal channels can't pursue this without triggering oversight." Maya didn't respond. "We were advised you might provide an external assessment." Maya leaned back slightly in her chair, then spoke with a quiet calmness. "External assessments don't come without boundaries," she said. "So let's establish them now. I won't certify conclusions. I won't validate outcomes. I will identify risk." The response came too quickly, Maya noted, her gaze returning to the images on the screen. You edited something, she said. The line went quiet, not removed, she continued evenly. Adjusted, softened, enough to preserve deniability. No, Maya replied. I'm precise. Silence deepened, the kind that calculated exposure. This stays off the record, the voice said at last. It already is, Maya answered. Or you wouldn't be calling me. She ended the call before the voice could respond. The room felt tighter afterward, as though the walls themselves had leaned inward. Maya closed the footage without saving annotations. She understood that this wasn't a request for help. It was a measurement. Tell me this isn't another quick consult that turns into 3 nights without sleep. Sam leaned over the desk, eyes scanning the paused footage. Without a word, Maya started the footage from the beginning and allowed Sam to view it for herself. Sam watched in silence for several seconds, head tilted slightly, absorbing posture and spacing rather than facial detail. Well, Sam said finally, at least nobody's bleeding on camera. That's progress. He doesn't belong there, Maya said. Sam straightened. Because the building didn't question him. Sam's humor faded, her eyes focused on the screen again. That's not a casual failure, no, Maya said calmly. Sam slid into the chair opposite her and took the keyboard without asking. Her fingers moved quickly as she pulled mirrored datasets. Maya hadn't been granted backups that lived just outside official channels. Redundancy designed for resilience, quietly repurposed for obfuscation. They worked without narrating their process. They never had. Years of shared operations had taught them when silence mattered more than reassurance. After several minutes, Sam leaned back. Someone cleaned this, she said. But they cleaned it politely. Define politely, Maya said. They followed policy exactly, Sam replied. Which tells me they weren't worried about audits. They were worried about interpretation. Maya nodded. Sam continued. If someone wanted this buried, they would have overcorrected. This feels restrained. They shifted away from activity logs and into governance structures, permissions, overrides, conditional behaviors. That was where systems revealed intent. A 47-second window appeared. Scheduled maintenance. Authorized. Mundane on paper. Enough time to suspend passive monitoring, Maya said. And not enough to trigger alerts, Sam added. Plus it's timed for shift overlap. Fewer eyes, fewer questions. A third-party identifier surfaced briefly in the metadata. Buried deep. Legitimate on paper. Richardson Group. Sam glanced up. That ring any bells? Maybe. Later, Maya said. Names matter more after actions and motive. Sam nodded. This wasn't sabotage, she said quietly. It was a calibration. Maya closed the window. She nodded. They wanted to see what the system would tolerate, she said, and whether anyone noticed. Sam exhaled slowly. And someone did. The official report arrived just after midnight. It was too clean, too polished, reassuring. Cause of death, cardiac event. No signs of trauma, no unauthorized access detected. Maya read it once. Then again, she didn't argue with the facts. Facts were pliable. She examined the language used in the report. Phrases like statistically probable and no further action recommended appeared more than once. Those words were carefully chosen and designed to shepherd the reader toward relief. Exit ramps. She requested access to the system's protocol architecture instead of the logs. That request triggered a delay. That was interesting. When access finally came through, she ignored names and timestamps and focused on permissions. Who could override what and under which conditions? At 8:58 p.m., passive logging had been suspended for 45 seconds. The annotation was brief. Routine maintenance. Maya smiled faintly. That was also interesting. Routine things didn't happen at night in sensitive facilities, unless someone wanted witnesses reduced. She flagged the window without commentary and moved on. Maya requested one employee interview, looking to connect the pressure points. The security desk clerk sat rigidly across from her in a neutral conference room, posture too straight, hands folded too tightly. Civilian contractor. Early 40s, competent, exhausted. Maya kept her tone even. Did you recognize the man? No, ma'am. Did he acknowledge you? A hesitation. He nodded. That's acknowledgement. Yes. Did you stop him? No. Why not? The woman swallowed. He moved like someone who belonged. Maya nodded slowly. Okay, that mattered. Maya didn't rush the next question. Silence was a tool, and she used it carefully. What did he smell like, she asked. The clerk blinked. What? Coffee? Cigarettes? Aftershave? Something else. The woman looked down, thinking. Not searching for the right answer, remembering. Aftershave, she said quietly. Light. Familiar. Like someone I'd seen before. Not a guess. Memory. Maya nodded once. Did he speak? No. Did he hesitate? The clerk shook her head. No. He walked like he'd done it before. Maya closed her notebook. You didn't do anything wrong, she said evenly. The relief that crossed the woman's face arrived too quickly to be purely professional. Maya noticed it, logged it, and let it pass without comment. Outside the room, she paused long enough to write a single line. System behavior confirmed. Human behavior normalized. The failure wasn't personal. It was architectural. By morning, Maya's access was gone. Her credentials were revoked. Her requests went unanswered. And the files reclassified. Under a designation she hadn't seen in years. Now that wasn't resistance. That was containment. Sam noticed it immediately. Well, she said, leaning back in her chair, someone decided you were done asking questions. Someone decided I'd already asked enough, Maya replied. Sam pulled up the system dashboard and frowned. That's not standard. They didn't just shut the door, they pretended it was never open. Maya stood, moving toward the window. The city looked the same as it had the night before. Busy, indifferent, unaware. They're not protecting a mistake, she said. They're protecting a capability. Sam nodded. Which means this wasn't a one-off. No, she replied. And that was interesting. Later that afternoon, Maya noticed the black sedan. Stayed 6 car lengths back, never closer, never farther. Close enough to be seen, far enough to deny intent. She made 3 deliberate turns. The sedan followed. On the 4th, she turned sharply into a parking garage and stopped halfway down the ramp. The sedan slowed, hesitated, then continued past. And that was here confirmation. If this had been an accident, no one would care who asked questions. But she had just confirmed that someone did care. Sam insisted on dinner that evening, somewhere loud, somewhere public. She knew Maya well, knew she wouldn't take a break until this assignment was finished. Before you disappear into your own head, she quipped, giving Maya a knowing look. The restaurant was busy enough to blur conversation into background noise. Warm lighting, close tables, a place where people came to be seen without being noticed. Sam ordered wine without asking. You're allowed to enjoy things, she said lightly. Maya accepted the glass but didn't drink immediately. She watched the room instead, automatically cataloging patterns, distances, exits. At a nearby table, a group of businessmen laughed too loudly. One of them raised his glass toward Sam in casual acknowledgement. Oh, relax, she said, catching Maya's look. I'm not defecting. The man approached with a look of confidence. A few words were exchanged. They were harmless, surface level. He pressed for them to allow him to join them. Sam accepted another drink and nothing more. When he left, Sam leaned back, smiling. See? Harmless human interaction, until it isn't, Maya said. Sam's smile softened. You know, not everything that approaches you is a threat. Maya finally took a sip of wine. Threats don't announce themselves. No, Sam agreed. But neither does opportunity. Maya didn't respond. But she didn't put the glass down either. Maya went home alone. She poured a single glass of wine and set her laptop on the kitchen table. The apartment was quiet, the city reduced to a distant hum beyond the windows. She reopened the footage. She adjusted the playback speed again, slower than before. Not because she expected to see something new, but because repetition changed perspective. Patterns revealed themselves differently when watched without urgency. She tracked the system's micro-behaviors. How quickly the exposure corrected, how the compression smoothed anomalies instead of preserving raw edges. That wasn't default behavior. Someone had tuned it to prioritize continuity over accuracy. That choice mattered. Most systems were built to capture truth and then manage it later. This one had been taught to anticipate discomfort and soften it in advance. She paused the footage just before the man entered the frame. 37 milliseconds of delay. Not enough to register consciously. Enough to allow a conditional process to evaluate presence, risk, and classification. The system didn't ask who he was. It asked whether he needed to be questioned at all. Maya leaned back, eyes unfocused now, thinking past the building, past the incident. A framework where belonging could be simulated convincingly enough that no alarm felt necessary. She thought of the clerk again. He moved like someone who belonged. And if belonging could be granted by behavior alone, then oversight was already obsolete. Maya typed one final line into her notes, slower than the others. The system no longer waits for instructions. It predicts which truths are inconvenient. She closed the laptop without saving the file. Some conclusions weren't meant to be archived. This wasn't about solving something. This was about a calibrated system, about testing system tolerance. Someone had been measuring response time. She thought about the clerk's words. He moved like someone who belonged. Belonging wasn't about permission, it was about expectation. She made another note. Behavior precedes authorization. The security conference the next day was routine, public-facing, carefully neutral. Maya hadn't expected to learn anything there, but she went anyway. As she observed the players in the room, she almost didn't notice him. He wasn't networking, wasn't speaking, wasn't being introduced. He stood at the edge of the room, watching movement instead of faces. That was interesting. Then he was just there, next to her. And when he spoke, it was casual, almost familiar. "You work quietly," he said. She glanced at him briefly. "So do you," she replied. A flicker of interest crossed his expression. "I've found people who do," he said. He didn't offer a name, didn't ask for hers. He left before questions could form. Later, as she FaceTimed with Sam about the encounter, her friend frowned, stating, "That wasn't coincidence." "No," Maya agreed. "It was timing. Let's finalize our findings and complete the work," Maya told her. The report Maya delivered was precise, accurate, incomplete by design. It confirmed what the client wanted without exposing what they feared. They accepted it immediately. That was interesting. It told her everything. A contract was quietly terminated, a protocol rewritten, a program dismantled without explanation. Maya declined further involvement. That night, alone again, she closed the laptop and let the room settle into silence. They hadn't feared the truth. They feared that someone still knew how to recognize it. She turned off the light. Tomorrow something else would surface. It always did.